Dr. Hovind, I love your doctoral thesis. I've torn it to pieces with house and gaffle. I can't remember when I last pissed myself laughing. It's a good thing the thesis mopped the piss off the floor.
Welcome to part 57 of this read-through and peer review of Kent Hovind's doctoral dissertation, which was published on wikileaks.org on December the 9th, 2009. If you have not yet seen the previous parts in this series, then I recommend that you go back and see those first, as in this episode I will start off exactly where I finished off in the last. In the last episode, Kent explains to us how he arrives at a figure of 6,000 years for the age of the Earth. A curious figure indeed, because Kent is claiming that the last ice age occurred 4,000 years before the planet it occurred on was created. Yes, I know. Batshit crazy. But anyhow, do go on, Kent. There is no question that the Bible clearly teaches that the earth is young. Almost all Bible scholars of the past were persuaded that the earth was young. Yes, Kent. And note that these people were Bible scholars, and not scientists and geologists. To continue. What happened? Why did Christians abandon the teaching that the earth is only 6,000 years old? Oh dear, Kent. Let me just explain something. There's this thing called scientific evidence. It's observable, verifiable, and seeing as all scientific evidence points to an age of the earth that is far, far greater than 6,000 years old, then it's of little surprise that people abandon the notions set down in your Bronze Age book. But do go on, Kent. I'm sure you've got a much better theory. Many of the Christians in the late 1800s, after Darwin's book, The Origin of Species, came out, began to try to compromise the historic positions of the Church to adjust to Darwin's theory. Yes, Kent, like I said, incontrovertible evidence. They tried to blend the evolutionary theory with the Bible. Yes, Kent, they'll do anything to keep believing in their spooky myths. Bit like you, really. They began to say that maybe there were billions of years in the Bible. Several compromised positions were created. One of these is known as the gap theory. Is that the theory that postulates that in order to believe any of that hokey-pokey bullshit, you have to have a considerable gap between your ears? They try to insert a gap between Genesis chapter 1 verse 1 and Genesis chapter 1 verse 2. I believed the gap theory for quite some time. And why not, Kent? I mean, you believe so much bullshit. An extra little tiny bit of bullshit between Genesis chapter 1 verse 1 and Genesis chapter 1 verse 2. Well, that's not going to make much of a difference now, is it, Kent? It's all still bullshit. I had a Schofield Bible as a new Christian. It is an excellent Bible, but his notes are not inspired. So very much like your doctoral dissertation then, Kent? Schofield said that there was a gap between verse 1 and verse 2. In that gap they claimed that Satan fell from heaven and the earth was destroyed. Yes, Kent, because there's, just way so much evidence for any of that, isn't there? In that supposed gap, we are told to put the great ages that the evolutionists proclaim as incontestable fact. We are told that there was a pre-Adamic civilization that included all the dinosaurs. We are told that this civilization was destroyed when Satan fell from heaven. Yes, Kent. Because when somebody else makes shit up, it's not acceptable. But when you do it, it's fine. Incidentally, for readers and viewers, the two lines in question are Genesis chapter 1 verse 1, in the beginning God created the heaven and the earth, full stop, and verse 2, and the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. And what Kent is saying is that 99.999998% of everything that happened since the beginning of the earth until 6,000 years ago was squeezed between those two sentences. Yes, Kent, we'll have to agree with you. It is flogging a dead horse a bit. But continue. There are a number of problems with that theory. You don't say, Kent. That's the biggest understatement, since Jackie Kennedy leant forward and said to the driver of the presidential limousine as it drove sedately through Dealey Plaza, "Can you put your foot down because my husband's got a bit of a headache?" But anyhow, I digress. It would be deceitful for God to hide millions of years in a gap like that and not make it known in other scriptures. Just like it would be deceitful of him to bury all those fossils and fake all that other evidence that leads scientists to believe that the universe is over 13 billion years old. It's strange how it's deceitful when other people make shit up, isn't it, Kent? Secondly, it would be against other scriptures in the Bible which indicate that a gap of millions or billions of years couldn't be there. Well, you don't exactly read the Bible for its consistency now, do you, Kent? I mean, a book that lists "thou shalt not kill" as one of 10 really, really important commandments, but condones murder and genocide, and the killing of children, doesn't contradict itself in any way, just like how God comes and wipes several cities off the face of the earth, but saves one good, righteous man, who promptly wanders off to a cave in the mountain, gets pissed and has incestual sex with both his daughters. But I digress. The Bible says a few verses later in Genesis 1, chapter 5, the evening and morning were the first day. Many modern translations of the Bible change the word "the" to "a" to try to overcome this conflict. Yes, Kent, and no matter how you spin it, it's still a load of twaddle, isn't it? If there was a lot of time before verse 5, then verse 5 is telling a lie. Either that, Kent, or it was thought up one night, around the campfire, by a bunch of Neolithic goat herders who knew bugger all about anything apart from goats. But continue. Also, it says in Exodus chapter 20, verse 12, that God created the earth in 6 days. Yes, Kent, and it seems that the only people that appear to believe any of this are literalist, religious fundamentalists. Everybody else seems to have grasped the concept, seem to understand the evidence, apart from you and people like you. Even the Pope in Rome, the head of the Vatican, says that Genesis shouldn't be taken literally.